You know, Scary Dave, you mentioned that. I'm gonna say this. This does feel like, in its source language, it's either just normal purple prose, or it's actually kind of good, but the translation is just a raw, and it's just awful as a result. Like, a lot of idiosyncrasies are not captured. It tastes different, that is to be expected, but it still weirds Anon out that he never had these where he's back where he's from. Almost makes him feel like this side of Pennsylvania is just a whole new state at this point. Either that or this is a local product and there's no way they're spending money, effort, and people to get it out of this zone. Out of the Eggman zone. Why bother if it's bought here plenty anyways? Whew. How big is Pennsylvania? I don't know, U.S. states. How big is Pennsylvania? Oh, it's that one. The one that's under New York. Right. That is where the rest towns would be, yes. It was founded in 1681. Before then, between 1638 and 1655, the southeast portion was, New Sweden, a Swedish colony? The Swedes were here? Terrifying. William Penn, a quacker and son of prominent admiral, founded the province of Pennsylvania in 1681. Anon got beat his Sure did. He sure did. With the drink in hand and luggage wheeling behind him, he walks around an empty station. The TV blare. Why is it a TV? There's one! I'm jokingly shifting around the fucking articles, and you're... Showing two different animal people talking to one another. Again, what are you afraid of each other? A crocodile and a dog, Garbo and Malloy, respectively. So, a thing in writing is you want to introduce concepts piecemeal, right? You want to start off with the TV players. If Anon knows these characters, he would first describe them as Garbo and Malloy. Then later, over the course of describing these characters further, you hint that they're a crocodile and a dog, right? Like, you want to... If something is obvious to a character, you don't want to do that. But otherwise, the fact that it's Garbo and Malloy, respectively, implies that Anon knows these characters already. Because we're using him as the anchor for the POV. He's not the POV specifically, but he is the anchor by which the narrator travels. Which, again, is really weird. Just make Anon the character. Just let Anon talk. News fixed with comedy. Fixed? What, like fixed like a picture? Like, I use a word like that sometimes. Like, the image is fixed. But, Or is it that the news is terrible and the comedy fixes it? Beneath the television is a reception desk. With a man sitting behind it, sleeping. Oh, man. It's so terribly empty here. There's a guy with the TV. His face is covered with a magazine. For a moment, I don't think about waking him up, but decides not to. Why are you putting this much emphasis on there? But if we're just going to skip past this, man. Also, isn't like half the point of the opening chapter to establish that the gender's kind of fucking weird? To the left of the television is a clock. Its hands are closer and closer. Anon has a smartphone. We don't need a fucking clock. And to the left of the clock, God, we're just scrolling down the left here, is a large board of bus schedules. Brush Valley, Fort Lucine, Stanton Town, Bright Harbor. Is that where Brightport comes from? How come Anon never heard of any of these places? It's because you fell asleep during geography class, man. Maybe because he was too busy collecting rage for replies that satiated his trolling nature. Just don't be so verbose with it, man. Don't be so specific. Just let it live on its own 2 feet. And nothing left to observe, but there is something right to observe. And so, the human leaves the building. The moment he steps his feet outside of the... What the fuck are you doing, man? The moment he steps his feet. I'm gonna big steppies. I'm big steppies guy. He suddenly hears a train whistle. He turns his eyes to the right. Ugh, I thought he could only look to the left after that last description, and notices a silhouette. Okay, but okay, let me just put my hands together, right? He does not notice a silhouette of a giant factory. He notices the silhouette of a giant factory. The giant factory is not casting an arbitrary amount of silhouettes. It is the silhouette. Yes, the giant factory is vaguely defined, so it's a factory. But the silhouette of the factory is not affected by that. It is still the only silhouette it has. Ugh. No smoke comes from that giant brick. How does he know it's made of brick? He looks around a bit more to see no one, unless we're talking about the third-person narrator. If they're that omniscient, or they got a little telescope with them. To see no one! Not even a... I mean, no. If the narrator is omniscient, then he wouldn't be complaining about the darkness being too difficult to describe. You're cutting halfsies with that. He looks around a bit more to see no one, not even a single car passing. You're at a bus station in the outskirts, Anon. There are no cars here this late at 11 p.m. Anon reckons it's better than to have someone stop and talk to him. Who the fuck is talking to a random teenager at 11 p.m. at a bus station? Being all by himself is a bit better than having to talk to strangers, especially right now. So, yes, you just established it. Anon reckons it's better than having someone stop and talk to him. That's what this sentence does, man. Man, this needs a rewrite. Like, just strip the wallpaper down. The street lamp he stands beneath. Okay, here's a big problem I have. Right, this is Anon. This is Safi has a big fucking moment, right? Why are we describing Anon standing beneath the street lamp instead of Anon looking at the street lamp above? The problem I have is that the camera is shoved up Anon's ass the whole damn way, right? It is just reading this man's mind as he goes. Shouldn't we stick to Anon's point of view and describe the thing that is above him from his perspective? He is not beneath the light. Anon would look up and see the light above him. It's a really weird and pedantic thing, but it's trying to cut it both ways in a really awkward sense. The road he sees would take him into the city, and so mentally prepared for nothing. I'm not mentally prepared for nothing. He begins to making his way there. He walks by the side. Again, this is why having this all be in present tense is really weird, right? It just doesn't flow well. Because it's nobody's train of thought. Who's thinking? And why are they bound by time? Even though it's so empty, a protest could be held without a What do you mean? Is that a phrase? Like, again, if it's from another language, this could just be a manner of speech. A protest could be held here without a problem. Is that something Anon thinks about a lot? Is that immediately relevant? It is the factory with the shade and the stranger, and I'm not sure. Going to steal and or kill Anon. Some of the fireflies. You cannot shorten fireflies to just flies. Some of the fireflies follow him, but soon dissipate in nothingness, amplifying the already vivid feeling of abandonment. How the fuck do they do that? They're fireflies. They're corporeal. They turn their flickers off and vanish. They vanish into nothingness, not dissipate. Dissipate implies you're shrinking in size. They are evaporating. But they vanish because they are invisible, because their lights turn off. Minutes pass by him. Yes, I get it. Time is moving, man. Jesus. By the way, Chapter 2 is extremely bad about this. Sometimes wind comes in, making the human shiver. And other times, at this pace, it'd take him ages to get into the city. But it is better than running. There'd be energy for him to spend in case of it. Like peak percent. What is going on in Anon's mind that he's walking down a fucking road near a town and he's like, man, I'm gonna be attacked by an animal. I better take it slowly. I better slow down and conserve my energy. Actually, are there wild animals here? Considering he saw a talking humanoid dog on the TV, it begs the question, would a dog have a pet cat, or would that be silver-lined racism? The thought humanism. So, did Anon cross into another dimension? Or, like, are they normal? Because you can't just put Anon in a world of fucking furries, right? And not, like... What are you doing with this line, man? Are furries just people in the world, as Night in the Woods treats them? And if not, what a weird detail. You're never going to talk about that either. We know that. You're Night in the Woods. You're not going to focus on that, but hey. His phone is the only source of light here. He's in the dark again. Oh no. Wasn't he walking under street lamps a minute ago? He eventually got tired of looking through the image board and looks around himself. He is far away from the bus station, the only source of safety. Listen, when I talk about the new verse and the new verse and I mention a moon, right? That makes sense because in the new verse there are multiple moons. I'm going to assume this is normal Earth because we have Pansylvania. Who the fuck says a moon? In what language do you describe Earth's moon, the only moon we have, as a moon? And what do you mean it's hosted? Shining upon. Also, if if the fucking moon is this bright, why didn't he see anything? It looks like the moon is impaled on them, on it, on the tip. It is the tip. It is impaled on it, like a basketball. I would describe the moon as a bowling ball, if anything, not a basketball. So, you know, it's a solid object. Oh my god, it's so frustrating. Suddenly, he receives a notification. He's got 10% battery now. So, fun fact, I get it right. The notification is that his battery is low. But this, my brain goes, oh, he got a text from someone? No. Better savor it. How fucking far is he from the city? He hides his phone and continues. Like, he just did the road trip calculation of how far the bus would take him. Why doesn't he know how long this walk is going to take? Like, why can't you tell us how long it will take him to walk there? He can see the city, right? Listening to the sounds around him. Also, you could have fucking mentioned the trees earlier, man. Yeah, you should have mentioned these trees a little earlier, man. Okay. He hides his phone and continues walking, listening to the sounds around him. The only sounds. Why don't you describe him as listening for sound around him to imply that he's being cautious, and then you go with the only sounds that he does hear are his own breathing and footsteps. Also, fun fact, I don't think you would hear your own footsteps if you're at night in the middle of the woods. I don't know what to tell you, man, but, like, hearing your own breathing requires a severe degree of quiet. Unless he's panting, and I can imagine him panting from a small fucking walk because he's Anon. The eeriness and loneliness remind him of that broken, mysterious record from that one blocky mining and Anon does not play Minecraft. Anon does not play Minecraft. He does not. At most, right? At most, he knows about Minecraft because he knows about the disc because he bullied someone about it once. Minecraft is 2011, man. It's been around for 3 years. Oh no, the first release was 2011. The first public alpha was 2009. I don't think Anon would be a Minecrafter. I think he's too much of a, you know. This is Night in the Woods, but Snoot. But it's the way I understand it so far is Anon gets shipped with Beatrice. Oh my god. And that's it. Like, Anon is just around. He does not replace a character. He is just full bore inserted into the story. How weird is that? Anyway. It was funny seeing people see that he brought havoc to their theory crafting discussions. Now, you might notice that in the original game, right, God, there's so much to say about the introductionary scene of Night in the Woods, and its heavy fixation on, like, tutorializing and establishing May as a bit... God damn it. It's doing a lot of lifting, man. He continues walking. 10 minutes had passed, or was it 20, or 15? Who cares? It doesn't fucking matter, author! This precise time is irrelevant. The sense of time is lost here in the impenetrable darkness. He can see the moon! He sees not only the moon, but the treetops, and a silhouette of a factory in the distance. This is not impenetrable darkness! His eyes have become accustomed to it already, but even the light coming from the moon is barely enough to see anything. So is it... What? He cannot see where the road ends and where the trees start. Or where the forest ends and the sky starts. Listen, the light on your phone does not take that much energy compared to your fucking phone, man. Just turn it on. Oh, it is just... And this is where I lost my mind. It's just so dark out here. Man, it's just so dark. Listen, right... You talk about this mysterious, but not horrific darkness, this impenetrable darkness, this impossible darkness. And you can't just go, it's just so dark out here. God damn. Hold up. It gets really bad. It's just dark. Like, is the darkness a serious component or not? Come on! This isn't advanced darkness, right? This is store-bought, not brand name darkness. It's just really soupy and thick. So dark, in fact, that seeing the lights approach him from afar freezes him. How is it impenetrable darkness if he can see lights in the distance? This is it. The consequences for everything good and bad you have done coming in hours. If he's surrounded by trees, can't he duck into the tree line? He stands still, hearing the roar of an engine close in on him. Better be quick. Better make it painless. So, Anon, you're in, like, at most a two-street road, right? Right, like, two lanes, and you're meant to drive pretty quickly, and you're walking down this. For some reason, the bus station is out of town by, like, a country mile. And you can't get out of the way. Like, these have guardrails often, Anon. And like, you can go to the other lane? Goddamn. He is not trying, is he? Jesus. Like, I like it, though. It really makes him a quitter. Like, not only does he quit the second anything bad happens in school, the second a car approaches him, he's like, I'm dead. I'm not going to live. I'm already dead. Stepping out of the way of a car is impossible. Like, if the implication is that this car shows up out of nowhere and Anon doesn't have time to respond, you're not establishing any of that. The car stops close to him and the driver's side door opens. It'd be very weird if the passenger side door opened. Would it? That depends on how many people are inside of it, but we know that it's Molly, because we know it's Night in the Woods, because we know the fucking origin story. The light is coming from the salon? The salon. The salon? Reception room is locked. So this is probably a clue, right? This is probably a clue on what the source language is. Because the interior of the car, I've never heard referred to as the salon. Looking for something. Let's see, maybe Wiktionary can help me here, because they usually have, like, a bunch more goofy-ass definitions. Let's see. A large room, especially to entertain guests, a gathering for social intellectual meeting, an art gallery, exhibition, or a beauty salon or similar establishment. There are a lot of people that use the word salon, but very few, but none of them use it for, like, car interiors. What is LTG speech? The saloon. Anon, what are you doing in the saloon? I like to consider myself a rootin' tootin' cowboy out here in this car saloon. The light coming from the saloon outlines the fat silhouette. Now it's the? Yeah. It's a place where you sit or where you get your hair cut. The hair salon. It's not any silhouette, it's one of a cop. How the fuck can you identify a police officer by their silhouette? Is it the gun holster? Because that's a good way to start. Describe the gun holster. Let us draw that conclusion. If the point, right, is to make us afraid, you describe this character stepping out as large, as imposing, then you describe the gun, and then you're like, oh shit, is this someone who's going to hurt Anon? But instead you just go, it's a fat person, and they're a cop. And it's like, you've completely diffused the situation. Anon is a teenager. We're not going to assume that this cop is just going to kill Anon at this moment. Unless you're trying to set that up, but you haven't even made this work. Anon's worried about animals, if anything. He doesn't like people, but he's worried about animals, so he hasn't even mentioned serial killers. Like, we're not primed for this at all. Stranded. The cop asks, with a female voice. Yeah? Anon replies, uncertain. You need a left. It is such a simple question, has no answer from the human. It's a cop, the one thing supposed to protect innocent people. Anon is American, he knows better than that. I mean, it's 2014, so a little before that really started taking off, but at this point, someone like Anon should really be skeptical of the law enforcement. I'm just saying, man. Especially small-town cops in the middle of nowhere. Those are in horror movies, man. But how can Anon be so sure this actually is a cop? So we're down the authenticity of the person? I mean, that's fair, but, like, you've already... If your point is to keep it ambiguous if this is a cop, you don't describe a cop. You'd say it's a silhouette with a gun. And then you describe the cap, and then you can go, oh, it's probably a cop, right? And then Anon goes, but are they? And then it works. You've already dismantled your argument. What are you doing? Is the darkness impenetrable or not? Does my penis fit? Did you bite your tongue or something? The cop asks. No, I just... So, again, Molly doesn't work in literary sense because you're introducing a character that, unless you intend to use her again, is Anon just going to go through the plot? Because the plot in Night in the Woods happens way down the line. Seriously, what is LT... Hold on, I'm looking this up. Dictionary. If it can help me. Learn to Google. Lost the game. Lesbian until graduation. Love that guy. Long-term girlfriend. Lit tough guy. Looking to get stuffed. Living the gimmick. Low-tier God syndrome. Is a very common occurrence of the FGC. A melanin man who cannot cook for the life of him? What? Oh, it's racist stuff. I like that Urban Dictionary tries to sell me mugs. FGC, the fighting game community. Fat goth chick. Man, what is up with these words? Low tier god. Yeah, I'm not too familiar with that. Sorry. Let's see. Maybe I can figure it out by reading the description. Abbreviation for lower tier god. Power says destroy you, he will, with a few words. Yes. That's adorable. Jesus Christ. Why is this fucking description so god-awful? Very common occurrence in the FGC. It's the act of calling a better player than you worse, even though you lost to him. Okay. Yeah, but I already went on my rant about, like, how we'll never get a sequel to this game, even though I don't think a sequel is really possible, considering what the game's ultimately about. Any sequel for this game. You know, Out of Volcano High ends ambiguously. There's a similar kind of ambiguity to Night in the Woods. Like, is the god real? Did the sacrifice do something? And I kind of like that you don't know and you shouldn't know. Unlike... Yeah. Yeah, I know. A whole bunch of people... It sucks ass, man. Part of me would believe that Anon would play Mortal Kombat 9 if this is truly set in 2014. Would he be any good, though? Would he suddenly beat that guy at the arcade? Anyway. Just Anon tries to muster up a response. If I was some maniac, I wouldn't be standing here chatting to you. I get in. With the pace you're walking, and take the second coming of Christ to get you into the city. That's a nice sentence. What a nice sentence! The city! Anon repeats. Then he thinks, what do you... He's already thinking, man. Then she must be from the town. Why not Possum Springs? Just say she's from Possum Springs. He draws an inner sigh of relief. Anon does that a lot, by the way. But what about the logic? Toss it in back? Shouldn't the cop be like, why are you asking me this, you fucking moron? I have a trunk and a back seat. Before taking a seat behind the wheel. I like how she gets behind the wheel. She doesn't help him with it or anything. She's just like, that's a kid. You're old enough. Anon walks to the back passenger door, opens it, and puts his backpack and suitcase inside. Then he walks around the car and takes the shotgun sheet. seat. I always wonder why it's called the shotgun seat. And, like, maybe that's where they put the shotgun. Maybe that's where the term comes from. So I'm going to look that up because I'm curious. The phrase takes back to the Old West, although no one actually called it shotgun back then. Carriage drivers would often bring along someone next to them to carry a weapon, usually a shotgun. These co-pilots acted as bodyguards and ward off any robbers or miscreants that got in the way. Nice! Yes! If you don't fuck it up like Goodbye Volcano High, where I don't give a shit. I think Goodbye Volcano High should have just stuck the landing. I get that the story is about what do you do when the world's about to end, regardless of the outcome, but it doesn't handle it in a way where that matters. And I'm just like, just commit to the bit, man. Either way, like, either tell me or don't. Okay, the cop, who turns out to be a cat. Couldn't you describe the little cat ears? Under the hat or something? Come on. Turns the car around and pushes the gas pedal. I would be very surprised if she pushed the fucking brakes. Also, how did she turn the car around without hitting gas? Isn't that how reverse works? Is you put it in reverse and then you hit the gas. There's not like a reverse pedal, right? Ugh, I don't know how to drive. Not many people come here nowadays. The cop says... You know, I've always criticized that people tend to go a little fancy with their verbiage. And hey, fuck it. This guy's actually doing that. I don't know if he's intentionally doing it or if he just doesn't know any good words for talking, but... Is that so? Yeah. Most of them are going out instead of in. I wouldn't say instead. I would say in place of... I don't know, it's like a really weird way to phrase that. I understand why. Places like Fort Lucine compared to this, they're better anyway. This place, it's the outskirts. Which begs the question. She turns her cat eyes because it turns out to be a cat. To him. What brings you here, kitty? Kid? A school change. A school change? That's a reason I didn't think to hear. What happened to you in your previous school? Anon does not reply, opting to look into the passing darkness. Is the darkness a fucking character at this point? Just slap him on the ass, darkness. You might as well marry him. One thing he could never do is tell the cops anything, and yet he trusts a cop. Just 10 fucking seconds ago, he's like the one thing that's supposed to protect innocent people. Like, I can't tell a cop anything. Especially about his past regrets. His past regrets, what do they have to do with the fucking law enforcement? You're a teenager, and as far as we know, you've committed no crimes. Unless that's his changed backstory. Which I'm all for, but she'd hinted that a little earlier. Like, start off with the changes so that I know what to look forward to. The way the reverse works is you put the number thing on the prindle, and then simply allow the clutch to go back, making the car... Oh, man. I don't think people understand what the prindle is. Listen, if you call that thing anything other than a prindle, you can get out of my stream right now. We stan Mr. Mosby trying his best. Oh. Well, if it's personal, I'm pushing you to talk. The cop retorts. That's so harsh. There's no interrogation anyway. Oh, where are my manners? I'm Molly. Anon. Anon? That's a weird name. I didn't have a say in what I was called. What do you mean should be called? Don't you mean what he is called? It's cool. Stands out. Anyway, pleasure to meet you. Isn't she, as like the cop in town, shouldn't she try to establish rapport with the guy moving into town? Especially a small town? Like, I feel like she'd be doing a little more. Like, she knows May, which is why she doesn't do much with May, but with Anon, she should be trying to do something. God, I'm almost tempted to write this one myself, but I don't want to. Because I want to do a crossover, but I have no ideas. Oh, which to use. On a side note, Anon things, this cops is actually pretty cool. Also, if you're okay, listen, okay. If you're quoting someone's thoughts, that's still technically a quote. You're still supposed to use quote marks, and there's a reason why most people use singles and for thoughts and doubles for text, for written or spoken language. Who knew my first time talking to a cop would be great? You just said you trust cops, and then you said that you wouldn't tell the cops anything. What are you, Anon? You actually remind me of someone. Who? There was this human guy who lived here years ago. Had a silver bird wife. I was there during their wedding, calling for security. Why was there security? They were the best pair for each other. I would love it if the security is supposed to be like a subtle hint about the racism, which there is. It's a nice way to subtly hint at it. But I can't trust this author. He overwrites and underexplains. He doesn't commit. Really? Yeah, they had a kid. I swear to God, I can see those amber eyes everywhere I go. Why? Is Amber haunting you in your dreams? What happened to him? They just moved out of here. Some people say they moved to California. It's most of the scalies will say. Why? He had a bird wife. Birds have feathers. Birds are... I see. Where are you from, by the way? I'm from the state. Figured as much. What about the city? It's down south. You just don't want to tell me, do you? I get it. It's no need to talk. It's all right. He trusts, but he doesn't tell. Soon the human sees the light. Praise Jesus! The new pope is chosen. And then the darkness that seemed to never end was abruptly replaced by the scape. The scape? RuneScape? Is that even a word? Can you just say escape? Denoting a specified type of scene. Huh. Oh no, that's a suffix. You can't use it on its own, as far as I can tell. Let's see if Wiktionary's anything, because Wiktionary's often very smart about this stuff. Escape means of evasion. To escape. Huh. Yeah, it doesn't seem to relate to bullshit words. Great. That's how you know, Scary Dave, that we got ourselves a good one. This is it, Molly says with a certain relief in her voice. Anon watches the streets roll by, buildings with few lights in them, and he feels right at home for some reason. He feels strangely at ease. Yes, that's what it means when you feel at home. Seeing those buildings in the streets, even though he has never seen them before. Perhaps it's the effect of the outskirts. You're in the town, that's not the outskirts. Or because he wasn't in a city for some time. Then where did he live? But that's simply... What? What are you saying? The car comes to a halt near the curb. The curb is assumed to exist everywhere in a city, so it's the curb. Ugh. Especially small towns. They're very walkable, comparatively. I reckon I better take you to your home immediately. Molly says and turns her eyes to the human. You know where you live? Why wouldn't he? Yeah, let me find it. Anon pulls out his phone, opens the note app, and finds the address and taps on it, bringing the map up. He turns his phone to the cop, who looks at the map for a few seconds until a spark of recognition lights up in the slits of her pupils. Her pupils are slits, you fucking moron! Like, the pupil is the slit! Ugh! I know why that is. We'll get there in no time. While the cop takes him to his new home, Anon returns his vision to the passing streets. What exactly made him feel so peaceful? The fact that he's far away from everyone he knew. That is a reason, but not the... Oh, so you are aware of how articles work. A part, but not the whole point. Then perhaps it's because it feels so alive compared to... What do you mean alive? It's late at night in a small town. Shit's quiet. And he came from a big... Big cities aren't quiet during... Jesus. The smaller cities would always feel more alive because there was more room for corporations. Because there's not much room for What? The smaller cities would always feel more alive because there's not much room for corporations to take that life from. The opportunity to live there for a whole year could be... So, is Anon fucking, like... I don't know, man. It feels like it wants to say something, but it doesn't say it. It's like it dancing around trying to make a political statement. But all these reasons are just side points. So what is the main point? What's the main reason why he feels like he'd enjoy spending time here? Anon doesn't know. Maybe he shouldn't. It's like an optical illusion or a joke. The magic falls apart when it's explained. What? Anon's just happy to be in town. He thought he was lost in the woods, man. Perhaps it's better to be oblivious and blissful at times. Jesus Christ, are we talking about Cthulian logic right now? And here we are. Molly says as the car comes to a stop looking at a particular building. Towny center. Place where everything You mean congeals. Congestion implies that the problem is traffic. And it's like night. She turns her cat eyes to him because she's a cat. Need some help moving your stuff? She says with a cop mouth because she's a cop. Also, shouldn't there be quotation marks closing this quote? No, I'm good on my own. Thank you. Anon says, opening the car door. You're welcome, kid. Oh. And also, Anon stops and looks at her, smiling like a mother at him. Shouldn't that comma just be gone if it's just one? Welcome to Possum Street. Why is she smiling at him like that? That's so creepy. Remember that, like, the cult that sacrificed kids, right? Mostly sacrificed kids that wouldn't be missed? Isn't Anon, like, the perfect sacrifice victim? That'd be cute. That'd be cute. That's why they got rid of Casey. He nods and closes the shotgun seat door. He takes his luggage from the car and watches the cop makes her leave. He notices her waving him goodbye. Why is she so nice? Anon goes in the woods and gets undertailed. I mean, that'd be cute. Listen, I thought about doing that Undertale stuff, but then I realized that I could only do it as, like, a joke. I don't think Anon would work in that. How would I make Anon care, right? Anon wouldn't fight either, because he's a big fat wuss. I don't need thoughts like these right now. The cold catches up and forces Anon to move inside the building. Enters a small hall. There's a lift with an array of buttons on the left and a door leading to a stairwell on the right. First, he checks out the elevator. The buttons all have names written beside them. So it's not based on floors, but rather the apartment themselves. Anon thinks, why are you using hyphens? Weird. I've never seen that before. But that must mean that the apartments are fucking huge. So that's a pro. With that, he makes his way to the stairwell. Concrete everywhere. Why would they be made of concrete? You're in a brick building. It makes him feel like he's taking the staircase in a prison rather than a small apartment complex. Wasn't this built like in the 1900s? Why was it made of concrete? He makes his way up to the third floor and leaves the staircase. The only door there is the door to his apartment. His apartment, hearing it reverberate inside of his head, amplified by a feeling of pride and accomplishment. Makes him feel a bit queasy. It's his place, his and his only. Even if his parents paid for rent, even if he's here for a year, this is his apartment. And he gets to do whatever the fuck he wants. Anon be doing a passive-aggressive pacifist route. Oh my god, Anon, please shut up. The monsters think you're a loser. Like, Toriel will be like, Anon, Jesus, what is wrong with you? Come on. Like, I'm trying to teach you to not fight, you know, try and talk things out, but come on. Stop hiding in the corner. Get off the bookshelf. And she, like, swings like one of those big feather dusters at him. Like, get down. Oh. It's kill or be killed. Oh, that's so original. Where'd you get that one? The slogan store? Oh, my God. Oh, it's kill or be killed. Oh, I'm a flower. I think I know everything. Oh. Like, Flower would have all the air knocked out of him having to talk to someone who's a big sassy bastard. It's like, man, I prepared the speech for years. Shut up. Why does... Okay, hold up. There's one big problem, right? Anon... Why would Anon have the determination necessary to override Flowey? Because the big story is that Flowey has access to determination and is in control of the timeline and is actively controlling it. Why does Anon stop that from happening? He's a loser. He doesn't have the determination. Like, the whole idea is that it mechanicizes the opposite, Safi. It turns diegetic, the idea of the player having reloads and access to the game as much as they want. That's what determination is, to an extent. And that's what Azrael, to an extent, represents, is getting disillusioned with the game because you want everything. And not letting a story exist in its own terms. Whatever, we're not here to talk about Undertale. Anyway. He finds the key in his pocket and opens... Why wouldn't he be fiddling with his key earlier? Come on. The apartment welcomes him with silence and warmth. It's been silent for a while, man. He takes off his backpack, then jacket and shoes, and then... Why can't you just say that he takes off his shit? A tide of awe and excitement covers him whole. So slimy. Even though this place is rather empty and his stuff would only arrive by the weekend, he cannot believe that he's going to have it all by himself. Perhaps it isn't as bad as it sounded. The apartment is rather huge. A big living room, a big kitchen, a big room. All of it's big. Made even bigger by... I like that he can afford it because this is like a shit rust town in the middle of nowhere. It's like... Shit's like $20. Because no one lives here. After checking the first two rooms, he steps into his own room. An empty table and wardrobe and a bed and a window outside with Why is the window outside of the house? The window is the wall, and therefore inside... Oh, God damn it, what the fuck are you doing? Or are the curtains outside? That doesn't make any sense either. He checks the time. Better get moving and get all of his stuff out of his suitcase. He moves his luggage into the room and gets to sorting. Everything finds its place on the shelves and the wardrobe, on the table. It takes about 10 minutes, and in the end, he puts his phone on charge. Wow. Riveting reading. No emotion. He doesn't feel anything. He just does it. The wariness takes hold of him again. Not bothered to turn off the light, he steps to the empty bed and falls onto the mattress. It's soft and clean. Definitely cared about before he arrived. He only has enough energy to turn his head to the side and look out the window. Remember, the window is outside. This is gonna be fun. He thinks before he closes eyes and falls asleep. Why does he think it's gonna be fun? I don't know. So comments. Yeah, I like how this guy's like, hey, is this just gonna be a romance, or are we gonna go into the mystery horror side of Night in the Woods? So I think I'm gonna take a break because I need to clear my head because we're doing chapter 2 too, and like I said, the chapters. Man. Anyway, up next is the chapter School Cycles. Doesn't he go to school in this? Oh my god, 11 chapters. It's 5,000 per chapter ish. But my god, ugh. See you guys in like a couple of minutes. I gotta